What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the next episode, week 2, episode 2 of 60-Second Predictions, the series where I spend 60 seconds talking about every single upcoming matchup for the week in the NFL and talk about who I think is going to win. The video on the screen is going to be the last time that these two teams played with the one being the away and the one being the home. And then we're going to start off with an undefeated matchup that we're going to start in 3, 2, 1, and bam. All right, so we're going to start off with the Washington Commanders going into Green Bay to take on the Packers. I think this game is going to be incredibly tight. I mean, you have two undefeated teams here, the Commanders and the Packers. I think that the Packers are going to edge this one out, though. Their defense looked absolutely unbelievable against the #1 offense in the NFL last year. And I think they're going to use that momentum to push themselves to beat the Commanders. The Commanders have a little bit of a weaker defense and a stronger offense. And with that weaker defense, I think that Jordan Love is going to carve them up. May he throw an interception? Yes. But on the other hand, he's going to throw for many yards, especially if they keep some hurt pieces. The offense of the Commanders looks in a little bit of disarray with Terry McLaurin not getting a lot of targets, but I do like Jamari Crosby-Merritt as their running back, and I think that Debo also looked really good during that matchup, so I think it should be a really fun one to watch, and I think that the Packers are going to be able to edge it out just barely, maybe a fourth quarter win at tight coverage. Our next matchup is going to be the 0-1 Browns going into Baltimore who are 1-0. And I think that this is going to be an easy win for the Ravens. Listen, the Ravens last year started off 0-2, and we saw how they performed. But then again, this is the Browns. This is a team that has Joe Flacco as their starting quarterback and Jerome Ford looking like their starting running back. I don't think that they're going to be able to play against this elite Ravens defense, which is probably the best roster in the league, playing maybe the second worst roster in the league. Do the Browns have a lot of good pieces that might cause the Ravens a little bit of disarray? Possibly, but you have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, who I think, while the run may be a little bit stopped against that stacked defensive line, I think that the passing game might open up. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins had that nasty snag. The entirety of the offense played really good last time until the fourth quarter, and I think they're going to be able to do that. And even if they don't play well in the fourth quarter, they're still going to be fine because Cleveland is a train wreck. Let's just be honest here. They're a little bit of a train wreck. Next up, we have the 0-1, or we have the 1-0 Jaguars going into Cincinnati, who are also 1-1. I think that this should be another very interesting game. Of course, the Bengals haven't produced very well in the first couple games for the last couple years. But at the same time, the Jaguars are not a great football team. I think the Bengals are going to inch this one out. Listen, I was kind of praying on the Bengals' downfall just because that was my upset of the week. But at this point, it's not week 1, so I think they can do it. They've overcome the hump that they were facing let's face it, the entirety of Joe Burrow's career, which means that they should be able to push forward. The Jaguars have, honestly, a very mediocre team. I think I very heavily undershot them with my prediction. Trevor Lawrence looks a lot better than I thought he was going to look. Travis Hunter is involved in a very good way, and their offense looks pretty good. But you're playing against the Triple Crown winner and an MVP candidate from the past year against this defense, which, honestly, let's be honest, doesn't have too much talent. Maybe the offensive line struggles for Cincinnati, but Trevor Lawrence might not be able. Our next matchup is an underwinded matchup, as I call it, where both teams have yet to get a win. It is the 0-1 Giants going into Dallas to play the 0-1 Cowboys. Let's not complicate this one, guys. I think that Dallas is going to be able to take this one out easily. Listen, the Giants looked absolutely horrible. Russ looked way worse than I thought he would. The defense was honestly pretty darn good, especially with that D-line. They got a lot of pressure on Jaden Daniels, but at the same time, the offense just isn't anything special in any capacity of the word. The Cowboys, on the other hand, just competed and almost won a game against the Super Bowl winning Eagles. The Giants were closer to the 1 pick than they were the Super Bowl. Man, they were closer to the 1 pick than they were to getting into the playoffs. I think that that it might be a little bit of a good game, and I wouldn't be totally shocked if the Cowboys didn't pull it out. But let's be honest, this Cowboys team is better than this Giants team, and it's not going to be too hard of a win for them. Next up, we have a divisional game where the Chicago Bears are going to Detroit to take on the Lions. This one shouldn't be too complicated, but it honestly is. I think it's going to be a really tight game. Both these teams are underwinded, 0-1. I think that there is a pretty decent chance that the Bears win this one, but if we're just looking at it, the Lions really should come out victorious here. I mean, last week they played against the Packers defense, which looked absolutely electric, and I think that's really where their downfall was. They're still adjusting from this coordinator difference. The Bears almost beat a team that honestly didn't perform too good. They started a first game quarterback and he didn't look great, and they still managed to lose. I think they look like a way better team, and I really like how their defense looked, but I think that Detroit's defense is better than the offense for the Bears, and that's just because of their offensive line playing against Aiden Hutchinson, which is a horrible matchup for them. Even though they have good talent, they'll probably jump off sides, and I think Detroit just has the overall. Next up, we have another divisional match and another underwinded match where we have the Patriots going into Miami to take on the Dolphins. And let's just get this prediction out of the way. I think the Patriots are going to beat the Dolphins. I don't think it's going to be a pretty game for either team, but I think they are going to come out victorious. The Dolphins didn't look like a football team last week, and that's even with them playing a team like the Colts, who I had being one of the worst teams in the league this year. Now, I don't think that Indiana Jones is a real thing. I think that it was just a product of this Dolphins defense that has a guy named Storm Duck starting. I think that's how bad they are, and I think that it was just a fluke that the Colts won, which we'll probably talk about later. The Patriots, on the other hand, honestly didn't look too bad. I mean, Drake May looks pretty good. The offense is starting to flow a little bit better. Some of your younger receivers are starting to break out. The O-line looks a lot better, and their defense isn't all that bad. I think that Tua might have yet another turnover. Tua turned the ball over, might come out again. And I think that the Patriots are going to be able to sneak this one. Next up, we have the 1-0 49ers going into New Orleans to play the Saints. Another one that's honestly not that complicated. Give me the 49ers. I mean, their offense looked a little bit rough, but honestly, it looked a lot better than I thought it would. Their running back duo looks pretty good. Their receivers look a lot better than I thought that they would, especially with all the injuries that they had. And Purdy made a lot of good reads. George Kittle is hurt, which really sets me off. Actually, I think that Brock Purdy is hurt. But I still think if Brock Purdy's hurt, their backup still might be able to take out the Saints team. I'm not going to lie. The Saints looked a little bit good against Arizona, but at the same time, Spencer Rattler looked really bad. I think he made some good movement, but he missed a lot of decent passes. Chris Olave is still questionable because of the hits that he had. This defense honestly should put up a pretty good performance against San Fran. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Maybe each team gets 10 points or below, but I think that is going to come out in the way of San Francisco, even if they don't have Brock. Another divisional matchup here, we have the 1-0 Bills going to New York to take on the Jets. Another one, not too complicated. See, I'm going a little more conservative with these picks because I did pretty bad last time. The record was on the screen. But I think that the Bills are going to pretty easily sneak this one out. I really like how the Jets look. They just don't look like a team that can beat the Bills. The Jets look like they could beat a lot of teams, especially playing against the Steelers team, which I thought were going to do pretty good. But the Bills beat the Ravens. They came back. Josh Allen looks like an MVP back-to-back, which I don't think he's going to get it, but it's very possible if he keeps playing that well. All their players look like they took a step forward. Their defense wasn't that good, but then again, I think that the Bills' offense is above the Jets' defense, and while the Jets' offense may slightly take out that Bills' defense, I think that Justin Fields might have a little bit of a sloppy game. There could be some surprise stuff in here as it is a divisional game, but the Bills should take this one by a pretty large margin, no doubt about it. Our next game is going to be the Seahawks going into Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Honestly, this game should be pretty fun. I think it's going to be a close one. Both teams look very, very, very different than they did last year. And we have a player trade here. We have DK Metcalf, who was a Seahawk and is now a Steeler. I do, however, think that because of the Seahawks O-line, it is going to be a Steeler game. I think that also having home field advantage is going to push them there. But Aaron Rodgers looked lights out. DK looked good. The run game was a little bit questionable, but then again, Seattle's run defense is pretty good anyway, so they might not have to resort to it. Tariq Woolen honestly let up that really big touchdown, and I hope that isn't a thing through the season because I really like him, but it might be an issue against big DK Metcalf, who can just out-body him at some point. This Seahawks O-line is so bad, and I think that the Steelers' stacked D-line with TJ Watt and Cam Hayward coming off of opposite sides is going to just force them into the dirt. And I think next up, we have the 1-0 Rams going into Tennessee to take on the Titans. And honestly, I don't think we need to really complicate this one. It should be a Rams game all the way. I don't see how it can't be. The Rams looked really good, where Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua both had nice games. Stafford looks like he's completely come back from his injury. Kyren Williams looked good. The defense looked really good. Nate Landman, I just watched the highlights today. Nate Landman had a couple of really big plays, and it looks like it took a big step up from the year prior. But the Titans, on the other hand, looked really bad. Their defense wasn't that good at all. They let up a lot of points. And on the other side, their offense looks god-awful. Cam Ward looks like a good pick, but on the other side, I mean, their receivers couldn't catch anything. They had 2 million drops last week, and there were some easy passes too. Their run game also isn't completely healthy, which means that that's also probably going to negatively harm them. So I think that our next matchup has the 0-1 Panthers going into Carolina to take on the 1-0 Cardinals. I said Carolina, didn't I? I'm going to Arizona to take on the 1-0 Cardinals. Honestly, I'm going to take a leap of faith here, and I'm going to choose the Carolina Panthers to take this one home. The Carolina Panthers did not look good at all. Bryce Young didn't look like what we saw at all the last year. But I think that might just be a little bit of a week one thing. They didn't play the best defense, but I think that it might be something to watch. Chuba Hubbard looked pretty darn good in that game. I mean, I had him on fantasy, so I'm rooting for him. The receivers looked pretty good, I guess. I mean, they had a couple. Ted McMillan had some big plays, but Arizona almost lost to a Saints defense that I had going worse in the league. It was a late fourth quarter win for them, and I think the Panthers are good enough to at least take down Kyler Murray if he's not having his best day, and I don't think he is. I think he's going to be rattled because of the last game, and it's going to lead to his downfall in the down. Next up, we have the 1-0 Broncos going to the 1-0 Colts, making us have an undefeated matchup. The only thing is, the Colts are undefeated against the Dolphins, who looked like not even a football team last year, which is why I have the Broncos waxing them. The Colts defense looked really good, but then again, Tua had 3 turnovers, and I think that was a lot his fault. The Broncos offense looked substantially better in week 1 than the Dolphins offense did week 1, which I think is kind of telling, even though it was against the Titans defense. On the other hand, I think that in this Colts offense, we're going to have Indiana Jones playing against Dre Greenlaw, Patrick Surtain, Talanoa Hufanga, Batonio on the D-line, the entirety of the D-line, the entirety of this defense is so lethal. I think Indiana Jones is going to fall off a cliff here. His weapons don't look too great except for Tyler Warren, and Jonathan Taylor is obviously probably going to do good, but it's just a rough matchup for a quarterback. Next up, we have a Super Bowl rematch where the 1-0 Eagles are going to Kansas City to play the 0-1 Chiefs. And I know I might get a lot of hate for saying this, but I have the Chiefs winning this one. Listen, the Chiefs no longer have any weapons, which means that they are going to win this game. When Mahomes is playing with plumbers, that's how you know it's a good game. Travis Kelce injured Xavier Worthy. Also, Rashee Rice is still suspended. I think Hollywood Brown might have a good game. The Eagles did look really good in their week 1 matchup against Dallas, but I think that they just won't be able to pull this off. AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts are having a little bit of discourse right now, where if this happens again, or if they win and then this happens again, I will be going for the Eagles, because why not? But Mahomes plays his best games when his weapons are hurt, and I think that's going to happen here. Also, they're 0-1, something that the Chiefs don't normally have happen, so I have them playing an absurd game, somehow pulling it out of their back pocket to destroy the Eagles. Next up, I have the 0-1 Falcons going into Minnesota to play the Vikings, and I think that the Falcons are going to pull this one out of their back pockets. Listen, let's look at the quarterback comparison. Same draft class, both of them have barely played any games, but let's talk about what we saw in week 1. Michael Penix looked very good against that Tampa Bay defense, which I think is honestly a pretty solid unit. Meanwhile, JJ McCarthy threw a pick 6 and didn't look good until the very end of the game. And if he waits till the end of the game to play good again this week, I think that it's going to be too late. This offense for the Falcons looks really good, and they have so many defensive players that are really solid, especially with these 2 rookies, that I think they're going to swallow up JJ McCarthy. I think he's not going to look great this game, and I think that while it might be a tight game, I think that the Falcons are going to end up pulling it out in the second half, or at least in the fourth quarter. They might shut down Aaron Jones, but I think Bijan has it. Next up, we have the 1-0 Buccaneers going into Houston to take on the 0-1 Texans, and this game was absolutely electric the last time that we saw it. I, however, do not think this is going to happen again. I think it is going to be a great game, a pretty big shootout, but I think that the Buccaneers are going to pull this one out. I mean, just look at the Texans last week against the Rams. CJ Stroud had no time to even think, and he didn't have any time to think last year as well for the majority of the season, which is why I think that he is at a severe disadvantage. On the other side, Baker Mayfield looked really good. This whole offense looked electric. Emeka Egbuka had 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans looked solid. Chris Godwin looked solid. There are no gigantic holes lingering on this Buccaneers roster that we saw from last week. Meanwhile, there are a couple that we saw from last week in the Texans. I think it might be a very good game, but I see the Buccaneers winning this pretty clear as day because they just look so much cleaner and so much more put together than the Houston Texans do in 2025. Our closer of the day is going to be another divisional matchup. The Los Angeles Chargers going into Las Vegas to play the Raiders. The Chargers are 1-0 and the Raiders are 1-0. I think the Chargers definitely go in and beat the Raiders. So the Raiders looked really good. I'll give them credit. They looked way better than I thought that they would. The Chargers, though, also did. The Chargers looked way better than I thought they would, too. But I had the Chargers looking better in the first place, which is why I think that they are going to win. Their offense looks absolutely disgusting, and I was playing the Chiefs' great defense. The Raiders' defense is not the Chiefs' defense. It is definitely worse. So that means that it should be an easier win for this offense. I think that this Chargers defense should be able to stop the Raiders' offense, especially if that boy Ashton Genty doesn't produce like he did last time. And I think that this Raiders offense is good, but I just think that the Chargers defense is really stacked. They have a lot of great pieces, especially that we saw shut down Mahomes. And if you can shut down Mahomes, then you should be able to shut down Geno Smith the next. But that is going to do it for this week's edition of 60-second predictions. I think that, honestly, I can really improve from what I did last time. I can pull up my stats from last time because it was honestly embarrassing. I shouldn't have been that bad. I had 56% accuracy. I went 9-7. I want to try to get that up to 75% accuracy this week. I know that's a really big jump to have, but I think that a lot of these picks are difficult, which means that it might not get up there. But there's always hope. You can always hope that you do better than you think you will. And that's a good mantra of life, and I'm going to end us off with that. If you enjoyed, be sure to tell me what I did wrong. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.